My name is Kat. There are many stories I could tell about life with ME. This is a story about the difference a good, listening doctor can make. My story starts in my 20s. I had a lot of energy in those days. I loved the outdoors and travel, exploring new places and ideas. Then my health started to fail me. 4 years later, I received a diagnosis of chronic fatigue syndrome, or CFS. Time passed. Everyday life became full of constraints and trade-offs. I tried to live as normally as possible. I had to become a lot less active, but I managed to complete my studies and started working. As my condition got slowly worse, I switched to part-time work. I had many fruitless referrals to various consultants and therapists. I increasingly felt there was a disconnect between health professionals' understanding of CFS and the illness I was experiencing. I felt stuck in limbo. Then, 11 years into my illness, I had the good fortune to stumble across a wonderful GP with an open-minded approach. He opened up a new door that would eventually lead to another diagnosis, and crucially, to treatment. We didn't get off to the most promising of starts. I initially went to see him with a persistent infection. I was given an antibiotic, which unexpectedly made my condition much worse. Over the next few months I had several ups and downs, collapsing episodes, and more tests. It took some time, but I did regain my previous level of mobility. I received good advice from my GP about rest. He was concerned about variations in my blood pressure and heart rate. He asked me to take home readings so we could monitor these. For the first time in years, I didn't feel I was facing the illness on my own. Throughout, my GP listened carefully and never fell back on assumptions about ME/CFS patients. He approached my condition as a puzzle, to which there was very likely some, at least partial, solution. He identified the possibility that I might have something called POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. Because I was due to move to a new city, my GP advised me to take this suggestion to my new GP and ask for a referral to a POTS specialist for diagnosis, as his condition could potentially be treated. If only it could have been that easy. I quickly learnt that most doctors know even less about POTS than they do about ME, the term I was now using by preference for my condition. I've come to see CFS as a box that once a patient has been squeezed inside, it can be very difficult for them to escape from. Patients in the CFS box get lots of labels. Here are some I've come across on my journey. To cut a long story short, I spent several more years in a kind of ping-pong match between my new GP and various consultants, none of whom had any interest in POTS or ME. My GP understandably wanted the backup of specialist support. None of the consultants he referred me to locally were prepared to take me on as an ME/CFS patient. On closing the last local door, the consultant concerned did suggest that referral for POTS testing might be appropriate. By this time I had read up about POTS and identified a specialist who was taking out-of-area NHS referrals. My GP obtained authorisation for the referral. The rest, as they say, is history. The clinic was welcoming and the diagnosis straightforward. The pattern of my symptoms and situations in which they occurred fitted neatly. POTS with ME, it turns out, isn't even particularly unusual, just poorly understood. I still have ME, however treating the POTS element of my condition has gradually reversed the decline and led to some substantial improvements. I'm able to do more and my recovery times from activity are faster. Understanding some of my symptoms better has helped me to manage them. I have a life beyond the illness. I'm grateful to those doctors who opened doors, and in particular to the GP who first set me on this pathway. My hope is that we can learn from experiences like these so that a new generation of patients won't have to go down the same long road to diagnosis and treatment. My message to patients. You may need a lot of patience at times, but when you need help, be politely persistent. The NHS belongs to all of us. Don't give up on it, even when the NHS seems to have given up on you. My message to doctors. We all know there's a lot that is still not fully understood about many conditions. Most patients are realistic and don't expect doctors to have all the answers. Patients do want their doctor to really listen to them and to remain engaged and open to new possibilities, whether diagnoses or treatment options. Even when these can't be found, a little empathy goes a long way.